All right, everyone. What is going on? The chat is already going off the walls. Um, Real quick, I was watching the Colorado Oregon game on Saturday, and a commercial came on for the University of Colorado, and that music was the exact music they had playing in the background of their commercial. So I thought that was kind of cool. Also goes to show you that's what happens when you use stock free or royalty free stock tracks. Everybody using those things. Wow. So my guest tonight, the chat is on fire, and the chat overlay is on because Sam twisted my arm, pointed a gun at my head, and said, "You have to turn the chat overlay on so everybody can talk to each other, whether they're on your side or my side." So that's why the chat overlay is on. I never have it on, but she has a really good point. So we've been talking about going live together for a hot minute. At least since the beginning of the year, probably, because I was booked. So I Did a Thing was booked out, and then I was planning on starting Ending the Stigma again in like March or April, and I already had guests booked for that. And I kind of let all my guests run out on Ending the Stigma and wasn't booking any right away. And she was like, "Hey, why don't I go live the day your podcast episode drops?" And I was like, that is an excellent idea because I don't have anybody booked on that day. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring out the hype woman of LinkedIn, my sister from another mister, Sam Sierra.
What is up,
What's
Chris?
up? How are you?
See, look at this beautiful chat overlay.
I know it's there. It's right there. It's there. It's because I was forced.
I'm kind of persistent.
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I'm good though. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm excited this is finally happening.
I know. I feel like it's been like forever.
Forever.
And I was like, we need to get together, but like, how do we do it? Because I don't have like a stigma. I've never, experienced anything like that. But then you actually inspired me to get started with Phoenix Forged. So it was only right that I'm like, no, if we're going to do this, you're going to be on my podcast and we're going to release it. And so I did a thing.
Yeah, so I did a thing. Exactly. With Chris Hennessy. It's
crazy.
You know what's crazy to me is like that is not a trademark phrase. Like people have been saying, "So I did a thing" for like a long time. But now nobody on LinkedIn that knows me, every time they say, "So I did a thing," I get tagged in the post. They're like, "Sorry, Chris, for using your saying." And I'm like, it's really not my saying. It just kind of became my shtick or whatever when I first got on LinkedIn. So
yeah. When I called out Logan Langan, when I called out an Easter egg and I was like, "Do you even carousel, bro?" For like a month, I was tagged in like every carousel post. Oh, it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. So tell us.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun whenever people know you for something.
Yeah.
Even when it's like
it means that you're putting in that work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that, like even something as mundane as using the phrase "so I did a thing." And like I used to do "so I did a thing" posts really regular, at least once a week whenever I first got on LinkedIn. Kenny D, are you still banned, man? Are you still in LinkedIn jail? You must be.
Flavor the flavor.
I know. He got put in LinkedIn jail a couple of weeks ago again.
I know. Definitely not happy.
No, it's not. It's not the same having him on YouTube.
So rude.
It is rude. I don't remember what I was saying.
We got sidetracked by Ken.
I know.
We were actually, so I have a few people that I'm in a group chat with. It started, when we did the fireside chat thing and we were like, "Hey, let's do this crazy thing where we like improv a story live on LinkedIn." And we like never stopped that chat. And Trevor was actually like, "Ken is missing." And I was like, "What?" So all of us are like searching, and then like the feelers went out. It was like They reached out to him on TikTok. They reached out to him by email. It was like, where is Ken? He's not on LinkedIn. Messing
It's a
up.
sad day.
We missed the flavor.
We do miss the flavor. Did you see Randy's comment? Waves to Kenny B from afar. Hey, Kenny, over on YouTube. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Bro
So,
was not happy.
speaking of your podcast, tell us about it. As if we haven't already heard enough all about it over the past couple months.
You know, that looking back, I am really proud of myself for like not letting up. It was so hard not to release that thing early. It's the longest like hype thing that I had ever done. And I was like, oh man, I just want to put it out. It's going to be so awesome. And I was like, no, I got to stick to it. I got to stick to my goal, stick to the plan. And that's what we're doing. And it's been such an incredible experience. So Phoenix Forge is a podcast that I came up with the idea that there's so many people out there that experience trauma. And it's a very isolating experience. Even though there's so many of us out there that experience it, we feel so alone when it's us. And you're ending the stigma. When I saw the like way back when you first did season 1, I looked it up and I was like, wow, this is really awesome. There's this guy coming on LinkedIn of all places and sharing extremely vulnerable, non-professional things. And it was just like, why are more people not doing this? And then I was like, this is so cool, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. Then I had a conversation with Adam, and he basically told me to stop with the self-doubt nonsense, and that I had a story that was powerful and could help a lot of people. Now, mind you, Adam had never heard my stories. He knew that freaking boiler. He knew that I was a teen mom. He knew that that's my mama, y'all.
I figured it probably was when she said that.
So he knew that I was a teen mom. He knew that I'm now in my late 30s, going to school, earning my degree. And that was it. He knew that I experienced something. And after that conversation, I sat and I reflected for a long time. And I wrote down everything that I had gone through, all the trials, all the tribulations, all of the achievements, all of the positive things, just everything that I had gone through in life. And I said, well, damn, like, that's pretty fucking inspiring.
Right.
I was like, if this was not my story and I was reading it from somebody else, I would be hella inspired.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, how dare I keep the knowledge, the wisdom, the lessons learned from everybody else? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to tell my stories because, well, if Chris could do it, I could do it. And I quickly realized that by myself, I can only do so much. So I put the call out and was like, hey, if anybody's interested, like, let me know if you want to join. And so many people, like, not only were they excited about listening to a podcast about trauma, but they wanted to participate.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that I needed to do it.
Yeah. So how long from that point until you recorded the first episode?
Oh gosh. So March is when I had that conversation with Adam.
Okay.
I think I had probably seen your Ending the Stigma probably in like January, maybe February. And by April, I had gotten in contact with Elijah. And I was like, hey, Elijah, tell me why I shouldn't do a podcast. And he was like, well, you're already basically doing one with Crank Up the Leadership.
Yep.
You're really like, you have good stories or whatever. And it's hard or whatever. And I was like, yeah, you did a terrible job of talking me out of this.
He's a podcast producer, though. Why would he want to talk you out of it?
I know.
That's his jam.
I mean, have you heard my intro?
Yeah.
And have you heard my teaser? Like,
Yeah.
come on. His
Yeah.
skills are incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, he's been coaching me in the back throughout this entire process. I've been working with him since April doing this. So it was a lot of figuring out, first of all, trying to figure out what the hell I was going to name it was like a whole thing in and of itself.
Right.
Because it's like, you want to do something that people are going to be able to find, but you also want to do something that's going to stand apart.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to Google something and it come up with a million different results.
Right.
So trying to figure out what I was going to call it and what it was going to be about and how much into the trauma was going to go. Was it going to be about the darkness, or was it going to be more about like finding the light and showing the strength and the resilience of the human experience?
Yeah.
And I think my first episode got recorded in June. So March, I decided to do it. I started working with Brian. Brian really honed me in, gained some like a ridiculous amount of clarity, and gave me the permission to say no to things, which I think has been such an incredible lesson for me. Between him and Kristen, like the word no is just easy for me now.
Yeah.
And now I'm just rocking and rolling, and it feels absolutely incredible. It feels like I'm doing the work that I was put on this earth to do.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
It's incredible.
And you're
like,
having,
there's no other word.
Yeah, and you're having fun doing it. Like,
yeah,
it's fun to get to, even though the conversations are not always the brightest of conversations. You're forming bonds and friendships and things that'll last far beyond that podcast episode.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts about it is like the podcast. I mean, obviously you were on it, you have the podcast recording part where it's like, all right, you're ready. Let's start. But it's that moment. It's those moments before where you're just like getting on, and both of us kind of feel a little tension because we're about to talk about like hard stuff and things that people aren't necessarily out there openly talking about. And you show up and you're like all tense and stuff. And it's like, whoa, I don't even want to start talking about the podcast yet. Let's just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just relax and like get to hang out with friends.
Yeah.
And once it's like, okay, once we start getting a lot of laughs in and like we get warmed up, then it's like, all right, let's start talking about the real stuff.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool when you did that. Like when I got the calendar invite and it said whatever, like 5:30 or some shit, like 30 minutes before, we said we're going to go on or we're going to start at 6 or something in the calendar, whatever it was. And I was like, holy crap, that's a long time. And I didn't know when I saw it or whatever, that it was just to hang out and chill out for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know, for an hour and a freaking half, like what are we going to talk about for an hour and a half? Like, I'm not that interesting. Like, how in the hell? But then whenever I don't even remember, you emailed me or DM me or something, said, hey, yeah, we're just going to hang out and chill and just kind of get in a groove and all that. It was cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think It feels like nobody expects that.
Right.
And I kind of love that because it means that I'm creating that unique experience that people are not they're not expecting it. They're like most people are just coming on and they're expecting to be able to tell their story and this. They're not expecting to come on and talk with a friend and,
Hmm.
you know, get connected with another human.
Especially if you don't know that person real well
Yeah.
beforehand. That
Yeah.
is really cool to do that.
Yeah. I think it's just important.
Hmm.
Like the the podcast itself, like the entire purpose of it is to showcase the human experience.
Hmm.
So if I can't show that I'm a human as a
Hmm.
host
Hmm.
and form that bond and form that connection with you before I hit record, then what am I doing?
Hmm.
Like, what am I doing?
For sure. 100%. Um, so how many episodes are out now?
So this is 4, year
Okay.
number 4.
All right.
My mom's, so she's right there.
Yeah.
Um, the so my mom attempted suicide. She actually attempted suicide a couple times, and I hadn't known about that. Um, the one that I was aware of was the last one. And talk about candy corn beard oil.
Did you not see my post yesterday?
I didn't realize it was beard oil.
It was freaking beard oil, man. So there's this ongoing rivalry between me and Adam Knidla, between Adam Knidla and a lot of people about how he loves candy corn. I hate the
I
stuff.
mean, duh.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Yeah, see, even Nathan knows I hate it. So, like, whenever I was doing merch, I was asking people, send me a picture, post a picture of it, and I'll send you a sticker or whatever it was. So he
Mhm.
bought one of my glasses, clear drinking glasses, filled it with candy corn, and so then now for my birthday, he got me candy corn scented beard oil.
That's you put in your mustache too?
Yeah, I haven't used it yet. It smells like candy corn.
Candy corn is amazing.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Sorry.
I don't even remember what you were talking about before that.
I was talking about my mama.
Oh yeah, your mama. I don't know that we went from something serious to something. We chased that squirrel all around that tree, up it, down it, and back out again, man.
I mean, how do you not like candy corn's just so random?
I know. It's called Phoenix Forge, and it's available everywhere, right? Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah, so Phoenix Forge, and it is on Spotify and Apple right now. And eventually I'll get it up on YouTube, and I'm working on getting some bonus content stuff out, so it's pretty cool.
Hey Marissa, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. All right. Anyway, your mom. We can corral this squirrel.
So mom's final suicide attempt, I was like 19, and it had I walked out the door that day, like my mom wouldn't be here. And I never really processed that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We never talked about it. Like, she attempted suicide, went to the hospital, was in ICU for a few days, went to rehab after because like she was in an induced coma and then getting out of it, all the medications and everything. She was in like a rehab facility. And then she went to a mental institution after and spent a little over a month there. And when she came home, it was kind of just like, well, she didn't die, so everything is fine. And we just kind of went about our lives. And it was at that point in my life, everything was so chaotic. It was just another thing in the mix. It was just something else.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like life changing, I guess, because like I said, she didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So we never talked about it. Now, this happened when I was like 19. So from 19, I'm now 37. And for years, we never discussed it.
Mm-hmm.
After that conversation with Adam, I sat, I processed, I wrote down everything. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, how dare I keep this stuff? Like, how dare I not share stories, inspire others, blah, blah, blah. In processing and reflecting, I realized that my story is not only my story.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to reach out and have a conversation with my mom.
Yeah.
And that was, that was back in March. So from 19 to 37, like literally 6 months ago, we never discussed it. So I called, I was like, hey, so I want to start telling my story. And a lot of my story is intertwined with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're woven together. So are you comfortable with me sharing parts of your story as well? And she said, yeah, absolutely. I said, okay, so what parts are you comfortable with me sharing? She said, share it all.
Wow.
Share everything. I was like, everything? She was like, share everything. And I was like, what about this? And she was like, yeah, no, okay, I'm not okay with you sharing that. I'm like, okay, what about this? She's like, yeah, no, I'm not okay with you sharing that. I'm like, what about this? She's like, yeah, you could share that. I'm like, okay, well, what about your suicide attempt? She was like, yep, share it. And to be able to have that conversation, and specifically when I brought up her suicide attempt, it was her. She was like, well, I'm at work right now and I can't really talk, but if you'd like to talk, I'm willing to have a conversation if you want to talk about that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, like, yeah. Let's talk about it. And we had a conversation and it went really good. And then when it was time to record the podcast, like we dove into it even more, right? We dove into the stuff around it. We dove into the day itself a lot more. The events after, all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was going to be harder to actually record that conversation. Having the conversation wasn't difficult. Having the conversation, by that point, it felt like it was okay to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
When I scheduled that conversation and that podcast episode to go live, that's when it hit. Because now, not only am I sharing my story openly, but I'm sharing my mom's story openly. And this is opening both of us up for judgment, for, people to look in and say, oh, wow. And whatever comments. And there's haters in this world for whatever. Thankfully, I haven't encountered that yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still just opening myself up for that, the
Yeah.
potential of that.
I know that feeling oh too well.
Yeah.
Oh, so well.
And then the next day when it actually went live, like the moment that I knew that it was live, the entire day was filled with so much anxiety. Just like all day, my chest was tight, my heart was racing, my hands were sweating, like everything all day. And my husband and I, we work at the same company, but so we drive to work together, we drive home together, and then we normally like eat lunch together. Well, he wasn't feeling well that day, so he called out of work. So normally if I'm having a day where I'm like extremely anxious, I'll just, hey babe, can you like meet me in the back and give me a hug? And he'll like give me a bear hug, and I'll like all my anxiety would melt away and I'll go on about my merry way. I didn't have that. So I had to sit in that uncomfortable anxiety, and I got stuck in the what ifs. I got stuck in the, what if I would have walked out the door? What if she wouldn't have come and stood? Because she brought me the keys to go to work, and that was a red flag. I was like so in the moment, so like I got to get ready for work, I got to go. That I was just throw it on the thing. I got to finish getting ready. If she would have just went and laid down in her bed, what would have happened? Like, what would have happened if my sister found her? Would she have been strong enough to, be able to overcome that? What if my son would have found her? Would he have remembered? And it was just all these what ifs. What if she never came out of the coma? What if, what if?
Right.
And I sat in that all day.
Mm.
And I got home, and like even driving home, it was just anxiety. Like, okay, I need to get home because I just need to be in my husband's arms. And I got home and I was like, I just need a hug. And he sat there and he held me, and I was like, Mom's episode came out today and it's like really tough. And he's like, well, what's going on? I'm like, well, what if, and I just started pouring out all the what ifs that had been lingering inside all day. And he's like, babe, stop. You are driving yourself crazy with what ifs that didn't happen 20 years ago.
Right.
Stop.
Like it's not that you're living in the moment. What if she never comes out of a coma? It's like she's made it through it. Y'all are good now. 20 years ago. A long time ago.
Yeah. So he was like, stop driving yourself crazy with the what ifs that never happened and focus on the what ares.
Yeah.
Like what is, like, she is here. You did get through it. Like, he just reminded me to come back to the present.
Right.
He is exceptional. And once I heard that, and then I was like processing and listening to music and stuff. And I had let Kristen know that there was still like residual feelings left over. I was like, I'm feeling much better. The anxiety is gone, but there's still these leftover feelings. And she's like, well, that's okay. They're allowed to be there. There's space now. And I was like, wow, it is okay. Like, it's okay to hold these feelings and hold the space for them, because me 10 years ago would have shoved it in the box and not processed it.
Right.
Like, they would have just whatever.
Right.
Like now today, Sam, when emotions come up, I process them in the moment. There's so much damage that we do by holding everything in and by shoving it into boxes and not processing. And then 20 years later, you're stuck in what ifs that never happened.
Yeah. It never happened. Had a whole messed up day behind it.
Yeah, for what? I wasted an entire day
Yeah.
on something that never happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever. Oh, your mom seems to
It
like
is what it
Tommy
is.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. He takes care of her. He looks out for her. He
That's
was the
good.
one who he's the one who went with her in the ambulance
Yeah, that's
that
what.
day.
Yeah, she's what she said right here.
Yeah. Yep. I'm glad too because he's way more patient with her. I'm like, "Mom, like stop." Just stop. He's like, "Leave her alone."
Oh,
No. I didn't put it in a box now.
now.
I put it in the box 20 years ago. The lid flew off, and instead of me shoving it in the box again,
Mm-hmm.
I let it be.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
Yep. So my episode came out today. I
Yeah.
hope you didn't have any anxiety over that one.
No.
Okay.
Yours was such a good episode. It was such a good chat.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was good to
What
I mean, I've told it before. I think the episode you saw when you talk about ending the stigma, the day I got off parole, was it the day? No. Because I got off parole on a Thursday. So maybe it was. Maybe I did go. No, I didn't go live on a Thursday night. It was either the Monday before or the Monday after. I told my whole story. Like, I've told bits and pieces of it on the show, talking to people or posted about it or whatever. But I actually started start to finish from when I started doing drugs, some of the dumb shit I did doing drugs, my time in prison, what happened to me while I was in prison, as far as, really experiencing God's love for the first time and all that. And then what I was doing when I got out. So I told the whole thing, and I talked for an hour and a half by myself. That's probably the episode you saw. But it was cool to have a conversation about it and not just tell a story, but have a conversation with someone else about it.
Yeah, it was really good. It was one of those things where it's like, how does this stuff happen? And we don't hear about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we keep putting our stories under wraps.
Yeah.
Everybody does it.
And I don't even
Feels good to
remember.
let 'em out.
It does feel good. I don't even remember what first prompted me to start posting about having been to prison before. I don't even remember like what triggered me to even think about it. I don't know if maybe Nathan, who used to be my co-host on Ending the Stigma, before he left LinkedIn, and he's back now. But if he had posted something about it, because he was on a job hunt, and he had to check the box, and he kept getting turned down. I don't remember. Anyway, it was just really cool that he and I both were kind of posting about it at the same time. We had both started live streaming separately on different shows. And then he DM'd me one day and was like, "Hey, I feel like we could do more with talking about this. Do you want to start a live stream together?" And I was like, "Heck yes, I do. Heck yes." And it just the amount of support, I get on it is just ridiculous. Like I never would have thought. They do so much better than my So I Did Things. Like Ending the Stigma does so much better in the terms of how many people show up. And I'm not looking at it from vanity metric standpoint, but just looking at it from the support side. I get more comments on those. More people show up because they want to hear those raw, real stories.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 in 3 people have committed a felony or had a probation or been in prison or justice involved in somehow or another. It's pretty good. It's pretty big odds.
Yeah.
And the fact
Yeah.
that people don't talk about it, and we need, and I'm not trying to turn this into an ending the stigma episode, but it's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want to
Do what you want.
Yeah, I'm driving. Um, I got the controls. But anyway, like you said, nobody's talking about it, or not very
Yeah.
many people are.
Hmm.
And just the DMs I get afterwards, like, man, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for having this guest on or this guest on. This really touched me. Or, I've gotten guests that way. They'll DM me and say, hey, I've been to prison too, or I've struggled with drugs or whatever. And then you strike up a friendship. And it's just an
Yep.
amazing thing to see, especially like you said on LinkedIn of all places. Like, who would have
Right.
thought? Like, I would have thought this would have been like a Facebook or a YouTube thing, and I'm not even on Facebook. But still, you don't expect it from LinkedIn,
I know.
and it's crazy.
It's the same for me.
Yeah, yeah, you don't
Like,
expect it. Like, it's not a
yeah.
professional topic. It's not job related. Ending the stigma kind of is, and I guess trauma could be too, because it could affect how you work and how you operate, and your
Hmm.
mind and your mental health and all that. But people don't talk about those sides of it.
Mm-mm.
And LinkedIn is just so supportive. It just goes to show you what kind of people we have here
It's
too. They're just
so
absolutely
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah. When I first decided like this is what I was gonna do, I was first my first inclination was nobody is gonna want to hear about this on LinkedIn.
Right.
Like, this is a professional platform. And when I started talking about it, and when I started sharing parts of my story and talking about, mindset and being present in the moment and processing and emotions and all these things, um, I started getting DMs, and I got a DM after I had posted for the first time, like after I talked to my mom and I posted her um my story with her suicide attempt. I got a DM, and that's the moment that I knew that this is what I was going to continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten a DM from a woman who reached out because her mom actually committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, reading your post it was difficult,
Mm-hmm.
but thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing. And I was like, what, like, obviously it was like a long DM, but in the beginning I was like, oh no, I triggered this woman. Like, she's gonna spend the rest of her day like being upset. And oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. Like, this was such a mistake. And when I got to the bottom and she was like, thank you for sharing, like, you're so brave, I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't I don't see very many people talking about trauma in the way that I talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I see people talking about trauma from, trauma informed and, mental health and that kind of stuff. But I don't see very many people talking about the gratitude that you find
Mm-hmm.
after experience trauma, the mindset changes and the resilience that you create, and the determination and the love and the joy that you can have after trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's really my focus is, okay, yeah, I went through a lot of shit, but that's not me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now I'm happy. Like, I'm genuinely happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to realize it doesn't matter how much shit you have to walk through. Like, there's still gardens where you can smell the flowers.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. 100%. And going back to what you said about like people posting about mental health, um, you're right. They don't talk about trauma in the way you talk about it. They don't talk about trauma at all. They talk a lot about mental health. And a lot of it is talking about mental health for the sake of getting clicks. And I'm not putting down
yeah.
anybody that has a mental health problem. Don't come at me. That's
Mhm.
not how I mean it. I'm just saying it's a buzzword. So
Yeah.
you can say some old crazy bullshit like, I was having a a rough day, so I took a mental health day for me. You know, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, thank you for doing that. You're so brave." And it's like, bro, come on, like,
Yeah.
talk about it. If you're going to talk about it, then talk about it, but don't like,
yeah, talk about it.
yeah, don't talk.
Why do you need that mental health day?
Yeah, what is really going on? Like, you know, did you not have any oatmeal cream pies, or was it like a real thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're going to tell a story, then tell the damn story. Don't just talk about mental health for the sake of talking about mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to help you or anybody else.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. That's why I share so openly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's some times where I am like, I type up the post and I'm like, I cannot fucking hit post. I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, well, if I don't do it, who will?
Right.
And I hit post, and that's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And those are the posts that end up doing well. Not because I took a mental health day.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'm dealing with anxiety right now, and this is what I'm doing to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm dealing with anxiety today, and I'm going to let it happen, because sometimes you just got to ride it out.
Yeah.
Like, you can choose, either it's going to be one day or day one. And for me, when I get anxiety, when I'm feeling those anxious emotions and feeling like I was explaining to my husband the other day, I feel anxiety in two different ways. One way is I feel like my soul vibrates violently against the insides of my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, I need to be held. I need to have a bear hug until my soul stops vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can go back to normal and I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other spectrum of that is sometimes I feel like I'm teetering on the edge of something, and if I get touched, I will fall.
Mm.
So it's like, on one extreme, I need to be held, and I need to be held tightly and feel safe and secure. And the other side, it's like, don't touch me or else I'll fall.
Mm-hmm.
So learning what those different types of anxieties are is super important, because if my husband goes to give me a hug when my soul is vibrating, I'm fine. If my husband goes to give me a hug when I feel like I'm going to fall, I freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair to him, because all he's trying to do is help.
Mm-hmm.
So learning yourself is so important, and learning to communicate what you need in moments is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So when I share these super vulnerable moments where I'm like, I shouldn't be posting this. This is a professional site and nobody wants to hear about my anxiety. That's my way of saying, hey, even though I look all bubbly and personable and everything is all fine, sunshine, butterflies, and rainbows, like, I still struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect.
For sure.
So it's this balance that I'm trying to learn how to, put myself out there in a way that other people can realize or see themselves with the damn needle.
Yeah. I agree. I got one question for you. You name the cricket?
Shoot. What?
Did you name the cricket?
Yeah, Jiminy.
Jiminy? I hear him.
Yeah. I like, there's so many crickets outside. It's ridiculous. And if I go down the block, there's like this swamp area.
Yeah.
And there's frogs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So when you go by at night, it's just I'm like, and they do it in unison, so it just sounds like one giant frog.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
This is a good mic. It's picking up a cricket.
I know, right? You know what's crazy though? Like on my mic, like, you know, my boss sits right there. And so if he, of course, he talks really loud, but if he's talking on the phone, people can hear him in the mic. But I can be sitting here eating chips, like I've done it on Zooms with friends or whatever, eating chips. I've crushed a water bottle literally right here. My mic is like it's right there. Crushed a water bottle. She couldn't hear it. Didn't hear a thing.
What?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it's something about, I don't know. It picked up his voice from over there, but not the water bottle right
That's
here.
crazy.
And you know how loud it is when you crush a water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, chased another rabbit.
That's all right. Nathan makes me chase them all the time.
Yeah. Phoenix Forged, Spotify and Apple. Go check it out. My episode is out today. Listen up. Tell me what you think. Tell us what you think. Yeah, did the beard muffle it? I don't know. Maybe it did. I have no idea.
Gotta love live shows.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. Sam, thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we go?
Your past doesn't define your future.
Come on.
You do.
It has absolutely nothing to do with it.
No.
It can define who you are as a person, help define you. It doesn't have to.
Yep.
But it definitely doesn't define your future.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
It can help shape you.
Yep.
It doesn't have to make you.
For real. All right, y'all. You know what? I don't think I have a guest for anything next week. I'm probably going to take a couple weeks off.
Mental health day.
No, it's talking about the first couple weeks of deer season, and I can hunt in the evenings because it's still daylight too. Is what this is about.
Ooh. Get your hunt on.
That is what this is about. Because once the time changes, I will not be able to hunt in the evenings after work because it'll be too dark by the time I make it out there. Anyway, no, Randy, you will not leave me with a bag of candy corn because I will not take it. I will throw it back at you. I will not accept. Yep. Sam, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it so much.
Seriously.
It was a blast. It did not disappoint. The hype was there. It was no like anticlimactic moments where it was like, oh, now I'm live with her. This sucks. After all the build up, it was awesome. It was awesome, y'all. Y'all have a good one, and I will see y'all in a few weeks.